all men are not created equally. All men are not created equally, and women are definitely not created equally to men. So, this is Mr. Green, your friendly neighborhood frog, right, from Green and Barrett, and I'm going to go over the Declaration of Independence with you briefly today. Something you probably feel you're all too familiar with, but I would say you're probably not familiar enough with it. And even if you're not an American, many of you from the Western world are kind of wishing you had some kind of additional freedoms that America seems to have. Some constitutional protections, some amendments, things like this. I just want to show you how pointless, what a lie our own government is in our documents. I kind of feel like the government is just another cult. It's just another religion. Human nature is such that most need to believe in such a thing, and government fills that role. If not through the church, then the state. So, I'm going to be reading from the Declaration of Independence. Sorry, I ditched my froggy nose there. If you want to follow along on your own copy, go ahead. I didn't want to put it up on this video. I thought it'd be a bit of a distraction. So, here we go. This is going to make me sick. This is tough to do. Because it's just so much bullshit. Alright. In Congress. Well, I could clarify so many things here. I'll try to keep it concise on what's important, but I could really clarify just about every word of importance in this document. Let's begin. July 4th, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth, a little bit vague there, the separate and equal station to which the capital L laws of capital N nature, more vagueness, and of nature's God entitle them. Okay, so while I could pick apart many pieces of that, I'll just again try to stick with the main ones. So obviously they're automatically coming up with a God. So if you've ever heard about and value this concept called the separation of church and state here in America, we never had that. We don't have that. We'll never have that. It doesn't exist. It's an illusion to keep you smiling. Now, I don't mean to shit on anybody who believes in a God, alright? But when it comes to the state and government and making rules over people who don't believe in a humanoid higher genie in the sky like myself and many others, you're going to need to have some factual evidence to include that God in the government. And if you don't, that God entity needs to stay the fuck out. I hope that's clear enough. It should be to all reasonable, rational, logical, ethical people who would desire to have some new freedoms written in so they don't, I don't know, get arrested for writing something on Twitter or offending one class of people while they're becoming more and more second-class citizens in their own home countries. Alright, let me back up a little bit. The separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, so this God is giving you some kind of entitlement. There's this higher power bestowing this upon you. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Now, keep in mind, the authors of this were a bunch of elitists, wealthy, more or less, slave-owning people from over, almost a quarter of a millennia ago, writing things that rule over you in the here and now today in the 21st century. Could they even imagine a cartoon frog in front of some lava lamps talking to you through something called YouTube? I think not. And yet their rules hold us fast. What? The froggy fuck, right? Now here's where it gets good. Or bad, should I say. We, Again, just the people who wrote this, not the people in the country. Okay. We hold these truths, their truths, okay, without factual evidence, their quote-unquote truths, to be self-evident, meaning obvious on the face of them, so obvious as to be obvious without controversy to all logical, rational human beings. That's their claim. We hold these truths about the laws of nature and nature's God that entitle you to be self-evident. Okay, well, that's something to have to swallow. That all men are created equal. Holy shit. Now, are you saying that all men have an equal value, as in human life? Individual to individual has the same value? Because that's one thing. But to say that all men are created equally, do you mean all infants are equal? Because an infant is not a man. So I'm just going to take their words as literally as I can. And literally is the right word to use there. They say all men are created equal. Okay, clearly that's bullshit. Clearly that's not even close to true. If you just consider the spectrum of man, you can go from people who have mental deficiencies to maybe not mental deficiencies, but their IQ just isn't the greatest, all the way up to Einstein and Newton and Tesla. I mean, do you really think that all men are created equally? You've got most men who can't provide for themselves and so must leech off of others like a parasite. Basically, the entire female gender has to do that, by the way. And then a smaller minority of men who actually are self-sustaining and not just capable, but willing, and they demonstrably lead lives of self-sustainment. They don't need to take because they can make. You have people from all over the IQ spectrum, and IQ matters. What that points to counts. Now, there might be other factors that come into if a person is acting intelligently or not, wisely or not. But that's a great general ruler to use when measuring what a man's contribution can and might be. You've got people from all kinds of messed up places in the world that stay messed up because they are unable. They are physically or intellectually unable to transcend their nature enough to form a modern and somewhat relatively peaceful society. Ongoing wars, ongoing disease, ongoing breakdown of infrastructure. Are all men really created equally? Clearly not. That's such bullshit. They talk about something being self-evident here, and then they say that all men are created equal. No. All men are not created equal. They will never be created equal, and if your society doesn't account for that, you're going to have the same problems this one does. You can't have a foundation of quicksand, lies, and bullshit and expect a document to have some benevolent ability to protect you from the monsters in society, namely cops, lawyers, and judges that will eventually form, as we can see throughout just about any country, throughout history. Or it will be impotent to stop. It'll either be designed to create that or impotent to stop it. You can't have a foundation of bullshit. Just wanted to make a big foot stomp on that one point. Let's continue. That they are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. Again, here's the appearance of this creator. Why does a creator need to be involved? Are you able to act with logic and ethics without a creator telling you what to do? Do you know right from wrong? Do you know what it is to make something and contribute instead of take something and predate? Unalienable rights. Okay, there's that fuzzy word, unalienable. They're using it. It's what context does it have today? Words change, language evolves. Oh, okay, rights. But if the rights aren't respected, do they really exist? They're conceptual. But without physical reality backing them up, they don't actually exist. They're just illusion words to keep you in your sheep-like fences, quiet and docile, while they milk you like the cows you are for their continued monopoly of profit and power, right? This is not original thought or thinking. This is just what happens. Do rights exist? Oh, I've got a right to free speech. Do you? If you aren't able to freely express yourself, especially when not doing so with any violence whatsoever, if you're threatened and fined and jailed, do you have a right? And you can just use that for any right you could think of. The right to bear arms shall not be infringed. But if you can't get a weapon to be able to defend yourself in this world, and you become susceptible and vulnerable to the weapons of others, you don't have a right, because it doesn't exist. It's just make-believe fairy dust they want us to believe. Okay. I'm sorry. It just, the stuff, I can't get mad. It's too funny. It makes you laugh. I'll make a whole nother video about fear versus mockery, but that's another one. That among these are life. If I have a right to life, no one should be able to kill me for no reason, but that happens all the time. All the time. Now, whoever wrote these, do they think that if all men are created equal, that only Americans should have these rights? Are Canadians entitled to the same inalienable rights by the Creator? Other people around the world? Because we've got presidents who will bomb weddings to nab half a dozen bad guys, so they claim. And there'll be a dozen women and children around who get blasted. They don't care. That's just collateral damage. They can keep that from coming on the news and affecting public opinion and therefore political pressure. And then when the funeral happens for those people, he'll bomb that funeral too. That's over there. What about domestically here? Over 1,300 people killed by the police. Are all of them justified? How many are prosecuted? Do you really have a right to life? What if you accidentally get swatted? These two people in Texas, the warrants were signed on lies, and the SWAT team went in there and killed them and their dog. Do they have a right to life? I'm sorry, but if you just believe that, oh, America's so great, no, it's founded on these principles of justice and liberty for all, you're not paying attention, you're not looking at it, and you're not above average in this area of life for sure. Liberty. Do you have the right to liberty? Okay, well, how many people are in jail for non-violent victimless criminal charges? How many? How many are in basically debtors' prisons? Right? If you owe an ex-wife money, you're going to go to jail, and you can't make money while you're in jail, so it's this ongoing loop. Debtors' prisons. How many people are working for like 13 cents, 32 cents an hour while in prison, just so they don't have to live in some kind of torturous, forced isolation among dangerous and not very bright, on average, other people, violent people who commit actual crimes? So do you have the right to liberty? What if you get turned into a wage slave? Like, you can't even go use unused land, just an acre, to create a cabin in the woods. They'll come after you. Property taxes. I mean, the drug war. How much more do I need to go on and on and on? Do you have a right to liberty? Because unless you've committed an actual violent crime, meaning a violation of ethics, right, then you should have your liberty. They say you have a right to it, but you don't. Okay, about the pursuit of happiness. Go look on the latest surveys, international surveys, about where America ranks in the happiest countries in the world. We're near the bottom. Now, what does it mean to have a right to the pursuit of happiness? Well, it would depend on how you define a human being's potential for happiness, and obviously that changes. That's different from one individual to the next. So vague doesn't help you. Specifics help us. Right? Continuing on. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. Oh, so a government is to secure these rights that exist, that we have, right? Deriving their just. That means correct. That means honorable, decent, deserved. Deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. If you're governed, you're a slave. Do you really need another man to tell you what to do? To rule over your life? To approve of your romantic relationships? To tell you what kind of altered state you can put your mind in? To tell you when you can and can't see your kids? How much of your paycheck is yours? Do you need another man? We all vote. Oh, voting is good. Oh, we need the right to vote. Do you need another man? I mean, I'm not being unrealistic here. I'm not saying we should change all societies to what I'm talking about instantly, because that would create all kinds of bad mojo. What I'm suggesting is that if you've got an IQ over 120, you need to get together with other people like that, find a corner of the world that's as peaceful as possible with the least sophisticated form of government, and live out your days in what freedom and peace you can enjoy. Because the rest of this is going to go to shit in a handbag. And why are you sticking around defending it? Why would you put yourself and your family through all kinds of unnecessary suffering when you and yours are more than capable of living in peace and self-sustaining cooperation? Why? I don't get it. People are so glued to where they live. Just powers from the consent. I mean, how are they redefining consent in the sexual version of it today? Now, if you were to go into the military, right? You sign up with these service documents that says, hey, this is American military. Hey, I'm going to agree to live under the UCMJ. Unless you get a divorce, of course, and all of a sudden they're going to flip you back into the civilian system. But that's neither here nor there. The UCMJ stands for the Military Code. No, I'm sorry, Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ. Now, your signature, if you were aware of what you were agreeing to, which you never are, but if you were, theoretically, gives consent to them to impose upon you should you break their rules. Okay? International courts do it. When trying war criminals, they address jurisdiction and consent of the governed. But the civilian American courts, and most in all Western countries, do not, because they charge nonviolent victimless criminal charges. And they never got the consent of the people. It's just a might makes right enslavement, violence, violation of what they claim you have as rights and liberties. Oh my God, the consent of the governed. When did you ever consent to be thrown in jail if you got caught smoking weed? Or because you didn't pay X amount, what they dictate, property taxes, from the local level to the state level to the federal level and everywhere in between. Income taxes, death taxes, estate taxes, right? Inheritance, sales, fuel, get a driver's license. There's taxes everywhere. They tax everything they can. When did you agree to any of this? They claim they have consent. They have your consent. Did you give it when you voted for all that? You just do it because you're forced to. You're forced to. You have no other choice. Again, this is why I'm suggesting we find some other corner. Well, there is no other corner of the world where it's not going to happen. Certainly there's one better than America. I promise you that. I've done all kinds of research. I know where peaceful places are to go. Well, they don't exist because I've been everywhere and I've looked and they don't. Most people say that have never even been out of their own country. Oh boy. Consent of the governed. Okay. That whatever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government. Oh God. Can't we just decentralize and call it something else? I mean, among intelligent people who are capable of self-sustainment and cooperation, we don't need government, because you can govern yourself. Can you not? Laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shewn that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. So a lot of Americans will believe in the American government and its founding documents, but they won't know them or abide by them or value them enough to band together and follow them. Even the parts of them that make sense about shrugging off oligarchs and despots. So it was a bullshit founding. It's either designed your enslavement or been powerless to prevent it. We need to go somewhere else. Big part of the reason why I'm creating this channel is to find other such men capable of this, so that we can put our resources together and get the fuck out of Dodge. Why are you spraying the beach down with a hose called hope and change when there is a tsunami on the way? 22 trillion in debt. Europe's already going to shit. New Zealand just had their guns taken away in 10 days. Endless war. What are we waiting for? Because all men are not created equally.